The real reason why a lot of people will take the mark of the beast. Revelation 13:16 and 17, King James Version. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. You know, when reading the book of Revelation, we read about the mark of the beast, and that people will worship the beast, and we automatically think that these signs will all happen overnight. But the truth is that it won't happen overnight. The spirit of the Antichrist is already at work. The god of this world is already at work. And that is what the Bible tells us. 2 Corinthians 4:4. The god of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. 1 John 4:3. But every spirit that does not acknowledge Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard is coming and even now is already in the world. If you ask anyone around now that if the Antichrist comes back with the mark of the beast, or if the time for the mark of the beast comes, will they receive the mark? The answer you will hear from most people is no. We know what the mark signifies, we know what it means, and we know where it is coming from. So I always used to ask myself, why on earth will anyone take the mark? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Why would anyone take it? How will the Antichrist and the devil plan out their recruitment for their mark? What approach will they use to get people to accept the mark? There are two major ways the devil will do this, and we will explain the two ways and how they are working in the world today. The two major ways are deception and idolatry. These are the plans of the devil to make people collect the mark of the beast. Now, how are these things playing out today? Let's look at deception. The first approach of the devil on any occasion is deception. There is a reason why Jesus called this being the father of lies. We know about technologies and those who invented them. Satan invented lies and deceit. John 8:44 KJV. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your family ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own words, for he is a liar, and the father of it. One of the primary tactics of the devil is deceit. In the Garden of Eden, he used deceit. He tried it on Jesus, but failed. He will, and he is using the same method today in the world. When the Antichrist comes and takes center stage, he won't come with red eyes and horns poking out of his head. He will come as a man of peace. He will deceive the world into believing that he is the solution to all the world's problems. And that is the deception he will come with. He won't let his true intention be known initially. The world will trust him, exalt him, uplifting him. The kind of approach he will come with will make people worship him. He will do things that others cannot do. He will bring solutions that others cannot. He will bring peace where others have failed. 2 Thessalonians 2:3 and 4. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. The Antichrist will speak evil against God. He will say many bad things about God just to deceive people so that they can worship him. The Antichrist will shift the focus of people from God to himself. Revelation 13, verse 1 to 10. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his feet were as the feet of a lamb. And his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? And he was able to make war with him, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given over all kindreds and tongues and nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. He will look wonderful, be charming and successful. He will be energized by the very power of hell. You have never seen such demonic charisma. He will deceive people. He will deceive nations. He will deceive millions. He will be demonically energized. Millions will worship him. He will be an emblem of reconciliation. He will be a symbol of peace, a beacon of hope, a path to utopia, a guiding light full of false promises. He will look like the solution and appear as an angel of light. He will come like a sheep, but he is a wolf. He will come like a lamb, but he is a dragon. He will come with no corruption, but he is full of corruption. The devil has real power. However, his power is nowhere near to the power of God. But nevertheless, he is a powerful being that should not be underestimated. After all, he is formally one of God's highest angels and has the power to deceive and to emulate miracles. The second is material things. The devil will offer many people material things. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? And he was able to make war with him, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given over all kindreds and tongues and nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. He will look wonderful, be charming and successful. He will be energized by the very power of hell. You have never seen such demonic charisma. He will deceive people. He will deceive nations. He will deceive millions. He will be demonically energized. Millions will worship him. He will be an emblem of reconciliation. He will be a symbol of peace, a beacon of hope, a path to utopia, a guiding light full of false promises. He will look like the solution and appear as an angel of light. He will come like a sheep, but he is a wolf. He will come like a lamb, but he is a dragon. He will come with no corruption, but he is full of corruption. The devil has real power. However, his power is nowhere near to the power of God. But nevertheless, he is a powerful being that should not be underestimated. After all, he is formally one of God's highest angels and has the power to deceive and to emulate miracles. The second is material things. The devil will offer many people material things. You see celebrities walking on the street and people are literally fainting at the sight of them. 2,000 years ago, idols were graven images and massive statues that people would bow down to and worship. But the devil moves with the time. We are now too sophisticated to be bowing down at some wooden statue. So modern-day idols for us are celebrities. You should never sleep as a Christian. You shouldn't think that the plan of the man of sin will come only after the rapture or sometime later in life. John shared the revelation coming from the sea and the beast coming from the land. In 2 Thessalonians 2, the Bible was talking about a particular man called the man of sin. He was also called the son of perdition. The Bible says that this man will come in the last days. He will start to be operational in the last days. We need to get this clear so that we will have an understanding of when this man of sin will appear. Verse 3 says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. This man will be revealed to the world. Everyone will see this man in action." What will this man of sin do? Verse 4 continued, "Who opposeth and exhorteth himself above all that is called God, all that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." Now we have seen that he has the same attributes of the beast that was mentioned in the book of Revelation 13. This man will speak blasphemy. He will position himself as God so that people will be able to worship him. When will this man start his work? When will people start working for him? Is it after the coming of Christ or now? 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 7 gave us the time when this man of sin will start his work. The NIV says, "For the secret power of lawlessness is already at work, but the one who now holds it back will continue to do so till he is taken out of the way." We must be truthful to ourselves. The spirit of the Antichrist is already amongst us. He is already working and we are not seeing it. After the people of God powerfully witness to the world, the Antichrist will rise and he too will have supernatural powers. Revelation chapter 13 says that he also will cause fire to fall down from the sky and will have miraculous signs going on with him as well. And so the world will see this and they will join him. He will be their Savior, their Messiah, and then he will fight against the people of God. And after many of the witnesses are captured and defeated, the world will celebrate. They will believe that they have won, and then they will be saved. Just when it seems like the Antichrist has won and defeated the people of God, Jesus will return and every believer who has ever existed will be raised to life, will cover the sky and will take the earth over. See how God gives glory and resurrection. The number one question believers and non-believers have is, why hasn't Jesus returned yet? What is the delay? When is he going to come and gather up his church and then reign on the earth? It's been almost 2,000 years. What's going on? Well, in Matthew chapter 24, Jesus explains exactly what must happen before he returns. At the beginning of chapter 24, Jesus was with his followers and they had the question that many of us have today. They wanted to know, "Lord, when will you return? When is it going to happen?" So in Matthew 24 verse 3 it reads, "Tell us." They said, "Well, why see do you one night?" When will this happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name claiming I am the Christ and will deceive many." You see, Jesus wanted to make it clear to them when they should expect his return. And so in verse 6, he's going to begin to let them know exactly what must happen before he returns. Verse 6, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come." Verse 7, "Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." And then he says this in verse 8, "All of these are the beginning of birth pains." You see, Jesus was telling them basically, my return will not come until there have been wars and nations rising against nations and kingdoms rising against kingdoms. The first thing that must happen is wars and kingdoms rising against each other and nations rising against nations. Well, that's happened. I mean the Crusades, kingdom rising against kingdom, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, nation rising against nation, and even today, wars and nations are clashing. So that has already happened. So what is the next thing that he says must happen before he returns? Well, in verse 9 he says this, "You will be handed over and persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me." Well, check that off the list. That has already happened too. It happened to the disciples. They were killed for their faith. And even today, believers all over the world are being killed because of their faith. And notice how he said that you would be hated by all nations. You see, when he said that you would be hated by all nations, he wasn't just speaking to the disciples. He was speaking to us because at that time, all the nations didn't even know about Jesus. But to us, we are living in days where if you even claim to be one of those Jesus followers, you will get hate from every nation. So what is the next thing? What is the next thing he says must happen before he returns? Verse 10. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. And because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this also we see today. I mean, how many have abandoned the faith? Do you see more people hating each other now than it used to be? I think so. You see hate like it hasn't been in a long time. You see false prophets and people who make claims that don't come true. Okay, let's check that off the list. So what is the next thing that he says must happen until the moment of his return? We've experienced the wars. Okay, we've had the wars. We have seen believers killed for their faith. We've seen hatred among people. What is the final thing that he says must happen before his return? Here it is. Verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. And that's it. That's it. He says his return doesn't happen just after there have been wars and earthquakes. No. He says his return happens when every nation has heard the gospel of the kingdom. Wow. I want to show you something here. When you look at the word for nations, it is the Greek word ethnos. And in the Greek, you will see that in the Bible, that word ethnos primarily refers to Gentiles, and Gentiles refers to non-Jewish nations. You see, when Jesus was on the earth talking to his 12 disciples, only the Jewish people in Israel knew about him. But he wanted them to know that he wouldn't return until every nation, even those who aren't Jewish nations, has heard about his message. Fast forward nearly 2,000 years, and what has happened? Exactly what he said would happen. Jesus did not fade away in history. The writings of his disciples, they didn't disappear. And we now live in a world where just about every nation knows who Jesus is. That he is a king, and that he has a kingdom, and that he will return. Now that was one of the last things Jesus said would happen before he returns. He said that there would be wars, there would be a lot of hate. And then he said that when every nation has heard the good news of the kingdom, then I am going to return. And we are living in times today where most nations, especially the Gentile nations, know that Jesus is the King of Kings. And if you say, "Who is the Son of God?" they will say, "Oh, Jesus." If you say, "Who is the King of Kings?" they will say, "Oh, Jesus." They know that he has a kingdom. They know that he has promised to return. The nations know, by and large, we are living in the fulfillment of what he said would happen. We have had the wars. We have had the hate. And now, for the first time in history, just about every nation knows who he is. In fact, with YouTube, just this video alone is reaching every nation. Think about that. You see, Satan thought that YouTube would be a tool to spread hate. And yeah, that's happened. But God has flipped it and used YouTube as a tool to spread the kingdom. In these last days, it has become one of the #1 tools that is reaching every nation with gospel-centered teaching explaining the kingdom of God. Remember, Jesus never said that every person would hear his message. What he said was every nation would hear. And in this generation, God has allowed technology to advance for the purpose of doing what the people in Jesus' day would have thought impossible. And that is reach every nation with God's kingdom in a single day. Jesus said it. The last thing that would happen is that the world would hear the gospel. And we're there. We are getting there. If we're not already there. If you have found yourself somehow watching this video, it's not coincidence. The gospel is reaching the world. Spread this message wherever you can. Share it. Spread the gospel.